Thank you. Good evening. My name is Arthur Gasparo, Nantucket Airport Commission Chairman. Welcome to the October 11th Airport Commission meeting. This open meeting is being conducted remotely pursuant to the Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. The preliminary matter permit me to confirm that all members are present and can hear me. Ms. Planzer?
Here.
Mr. Buscarin?
Here.
Mr. Marks?
Here.
Thank you. We have joined with by counsel, Mr. David Mackey, and we also have Mr. Lasden, Ms. Stoikova Nelson, and Mr. Rafter from airport staff. We're meeting by video conference, so please note meetings being recorded. All attendees are participating by video conference, and please be aware other folks may be able to see you and not to screen share your computer. All supporting materials that have been provided are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking and to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate meeting minutes. Please speak through the chair, and each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And with that, we will move to review and approve of the agenda. Are there any comments or concerns with the agenda as published? Seeing none, we'll consider that adopted by unanimous consent. We have the September 13th and September 26th draft minutes, which were provided as a handout. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns about the minutes? Is there a motion to adopt the draft minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. There are no further discussions. Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. We have to ratify the September 21st and October 5th warrants. Are there any questions, concerns, or a motion to ratify said warrants?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Ms. Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That'll bring us to public comment for any items not on the agenda. I don't see any members of the public in the participant list. So we will move on to pending leases and contracts set forth on Exhibit 1. I'll turn it over to Mr. Rafter.
Thank you. The first item is a contract amendment with Aero Specialties. It's for $1,387.50. It's for some increased freight that was due for the shipping of our two tugs. Next is a contract with 5-Star Airport Alliance Incorporated. It's a 3-year contract for $41,476,000 for preventative maintenance services on our baggage belt system. And we have a contract with Computer Assistance Services. This is our IT support. Again, a 3-year contract, $240,625. The next item is a contract amendment with McFarland Johnson for a not to exceed $24,000. I'm asking the commission to authorize the chair to approve this. It is for the replacement or rehab, whatever you want to call it, of the granular activated carbon system, the GAC system that we use to drain the water out of the holding area around the fuel farm. We need the system has exceeded its useful life, and there's been a breakthrough. It allows us to pump the water that's contaminated with PFAS through it, filters it, and then we can dump it into the regular drain. And we need this done quickly because we're going through our fuel farm inspection and repair. So I'd like to ask for authorization up to the $24,000. We have pricing from McFarland and the subs. Next item is a contract amendment with Lawrence Lynch. It's a no-cost item. It's to extend the expiration date through June 8th of 23. That's to allow them to do some continuing work on taxiway Echo. We have next a contract with Victor Branding Corporation for $5,588,888. That's for the taxiway Gulf relocation and reconstruction, marking and lighting. And then the contract amendment with McFarland Johnson for $252,800. That again is for taxiway Gulf, the environmental mitigation and FAA reimbursable agreement to support that project.
Thank you, Mr. Rafter. Mr. Carberg, I see you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Tom. I just wanted to offer one comment. We do not actually have breakthrough of PFAS compounds in our GAC filter. We have breakthrough of sort of they call the forerunners, the fluorotelemers, and that indicates that the system is approaching the end of its useful life. So I just did want to offer that clarification. There was no regulated PFAS compound breakthrough into the environment. It's just time to change the media out before that happens.
Thank you for that clarification. Does anybody have any other questions, comments on the contracts amendment and contract amendments? Is there a motion to approve the contract amendments per Exhibit 1 as reviewed by Mr. Rafter, with authorization of the chair to sign the contract amendment with McFarland Johnson related to the GAC system?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
Was it made and seconded? Any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Blansler, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Moving on to pending matters, Mr. Rafter.
Thank you. The home rule petition for our capital approval process is being tracked now by the Airport Owners and Pilots Association, as well as Massachusetts Airport Managers Association. And they've been in contact with the legislative aide from Senator Vallis's office, who offered this information. They said that due to the title change and or clarifying amendment on September 26th in the Senate, that this bill will need to go back to the House for engrossment. After the House's engrossment, bill must be enacted by both chambers before going to the governor's desk. So it's at least still seeing some movement, and we have other entities tracking that. So that's good news.
Any questions on that? Thanks, Mr. Rafter. And the PFAS investigation update. I assume this is going to Mr. Carberg.
Do you want to do that, Noah, or you want me to?
If I could, Tom, do you mind if I
go
defer
right
that to
ahead.
you?
Okay. So on the PFAS side, there have been 535 samples from 80 individual wells under the task order phase 2 status amendment number 2. We're waiting on the synoptic well measurements. We're on the administrative side, downgrading property status, potentially PPA exclusion. Filings are going to be done this fall, hopefully. It's a process similar to the IRA. And on Amendment 3, the sampling utility clearing is, we're coordinating escorts for that in the middle of October now. And the sampling will begin late October and November. The IRA status report number 13 is due out February 2023. And the last item on the punch list for the water service water main project was completed today by Victor, and that was the patch across Monahanset Road. That's
Thank
it.
you. Does anyone have any questions on the PFAS update or anything else related to PFAS? Sounds like we'll just stay at it. Thank you. Moving on to finance, Mr. Rafter.
Thank you. The fuel revolver cap update in your packet is a status as of September 30th. And as you can see, the revolver is in very good shape. Has a gross profit at the end of September of $5,870,000, and $580,000 plus is flowing over into the operating agreement. This is mainly due, though, to the grants that we received in the amount of $2.1 million. However, without the grant, we're still slightly ahead of last year's revenue. Jamie's also added at the bottom of that sheet in the packet projected remainder of the fiscal year, what she's projecting that we'll be spending to ensure that we have sufficient funds. And again, due to the grant funding, we should have more than enough, although with the price of fuel, one never knows. but to get us through the rest of the year with a buffer of about 12 to 14 loads. And on another note, last season, you may recall, we were just completing the fuel farm rehab, and we had most of our tanks pretty empty, and we had to stockpile everything in a hurry. So we shouldn't have to deal with that this go around. So we'll be in good shape with that. The next item on the agenda is request to adopt the ATM fuel revolver cap for FY23. I just wanted to bring to the attention of the commission that during the 2022 ATM for the fiscal year for the fuel revolver cap, it was inadvertently included as an FY23 cap of 9.5 million. However, it worked in our favor, and everything worked out very, very well, but I believe it would be appropriate for the commission to formally adopt the cap of 9.5 million for FY23.
Thank you. We'll take the first part. Does anybody have any questions on the fuel revolver cap and status update? Any questions about the establishing the, is it 9.3 million?
9.5 million.
9.5 million as the cap for this fiscal year, and if not, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
And is there a second?
I'll second.
The motion is to adopt the 9.5 million as the fuel revolver cap for fiscal 23, correct, Mr. Rafter?
Yes.
Thank you. So made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Planzer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Buscaret?
Aye.
Mr. Mark?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Thank you for that, Mr. Rafter. And we'll move on to the manager's report.
Okay, on the project side of the house, the crew quarters housing project, we've held meetings with the architect team to provide them further understanding of the project. They'll be completing a scope and fee proposal, getting that over to Rich, and then we'll be tying up that task order. On September 29th, we met with the Capital Planning Committee to present our capital requests, and there was a lot of interest shown in this project and a lot of concern. They made some suggestions and had requested information, which NOAA has since provided them. And then their most recent meeting just last week, there were further questions relating to this project regarding airport revenue, revenue diversion, and how it can be used regarding this project. I've since sent Brian Turbot the revenue diversion compliance information from the FAA compliance manual, and he said he would let us know when this topic will be discussed next with the committee. The Hagedorn Aviation hangars nearing completion. Terminal optimization project. We had a stakeholder meeting with TSA and JetBlue. TSA provided some good insight as to their design requirements. JetBlue was very excited to get the project moving, and we're going to continue to try to reach out to some other stakeholders. HVAC controls project is substantially complete. The final items, testing, training, and as-built, and that'll be closed out shortly. Taxiway Golf, as earlier, you approved the contract. Thank you. And as Richard mentioned before, I believe possibility of environmental work could be accomplished simultaneously with the construction in the spring of 23. The master plan update aerial survey work has begun, and site visit was scheduled for November to review current history. And non-standard geometry, we had a meeting with FAA, DOT, and consultants to review the air traffic memo. And that same November site visit will also include reviewing the existing geometry issues. On the RFP bid side of the house, I just want to inform you that the bids that we received for the maintenance contract for the security system were much greater than our budget. So we're going to defer that another year and make some arrangements to get through with emergency on-call service until we can budget accordingly for that. And the OPM for housing and terminal, we're still finalizing those. And the taxiway golf bid, as you know, was awarded. On the operational side of the house, I'm sure many of you know that early morning, Saturday, October 1st, our ARF personnel were requested to respond to mutual aid assistance to the house fire on Tristram Avenue. Airport personnel, Johnny Grangrade, Skylar Svedras, Blaine Buckley, Gary Alan, Joanna Rodriguez, and Chris Vasquez responded and provided support to the NFD, and I just want to personally thank them. I've sent them all emails. They represented the airport very well and assisted in that fire. There was no water at the location, so they were basically hauling water back and forth, as well as some other support entities. Earlier today, we had a 30-passenger charter jet arrive. Some had speculated it was a possible flight similar to the immigrants that arrived in the Vineyard a few weeks ago, but it was a corporate event visiting the island. Everything went smoothly. We're also working on Toscana Island Barge and some other parcels to be put out for an RFP in the Bunker Road area. Any questions before I move on to statistics?
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Rafter?
Okay.
Please move on.
For July, the operations were down about 11% and employments were up almost 8%. Boston market, they saw a net decrease in the market of 8% or 461 passengers. Charlotte was down 38% but still had a load factor of 83%, which is good. Washington, DCA market was up 48% or over 1,700 passengers. New Bedford was down 303 passengers. Newark up 15%, White Plains up 21%. Dulles was down 90% with a 61% load factor. Kennedy was up 23% with over 1,400 passengers. Philly was down 6%. Providence down 8%. Chicago and American was down 6%. And the biggest troubling news, if you will, is overall the Hyannis market was down 67% or over 900 passengers. As you know, Southern is pulling, or you may have heard, Southern is pulling out for the winter, so we won't have that Hyannis service, and we'll have very limited Cape Air. I think it's 2, maybe 3 flights a day, so that's a concern to us. On the fuel side of the house, Jet A gallons sold for August were up 12.4%. September, they were down 8%. Avgas was up 32.8 for August and down 25 for September. Freight for August continued to drop at 16.4%, and the noise complaints were down from 37 last year to 28 this year. On the personnel side of the house, we continue to face very competitive job market, and our latest resignation has been submitted was for our receptionist Fiona is going to be leaving us. So we're looking at backfilling that, as well as the office manager Katie's position too. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. A lot going on. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Rafter regarding his report? Hearing none. We'll move on to commissioners' comments, and in your packet is suggested meeting dates for the commission for 2023. Are there any concerns with any of the dates or questions? I believe it's maintaining sort of the status quo of what we've been doing. Okay, I think that we could consider that calendar adopted by unanimous consent, no concern. And I will turn us back to public comment. I don't see any member for items not on the agenda, otherwise on the agenda. I don't see any members of the public on the participant list. So that will move us into executive session per general law, chapter 30A, section 21A, to review the minutes enumerated on the agenda for possible release. And we still have some additional minutes that draft that are pending for review for the next meeting. So we also have clause 2 to conduct contract negotiations with a non-union employee, specifically the airport manager. And item C, clause 2, to conduct a strategy session in preparation for contract negotiations with a non-union employee, not to return to open session. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Ms. Plazer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Buscarin?
Aye.
Mr. Marks?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you all. Mr. Stoikova Nelson, could we